To a professor of law at the Seton Hall University, Professor H.K. Prempeh, who is calling for the reconstitution of the membership of the country's Council of State or a total scrap of it, since its current composition adds little value to the country's governance process. According to Professor Prempeh, the composition of the Council of State ought not to be a partisan body dominated by appointees of the president, but rather a body that represents the diversity of interest in the country. He also spoke about Parliament and the need to elect MMDCEs.
In its current form, it adds very little value to our national governance. And I give you the example of whenever we're getting to elections and we think that the national temperature or the tensions are too high, do we ever go to the Council of State to mediate between the parties? No, we go and borrow some chiefs and say, come and do a peace council and come and do. The Council of State should not just be basically another partisan body dominated mostly by the president's appointee, or even if there are some ex-officio officers like the former Chief Justice or Chief of Defense Staff, they are all chosen by the president still. Right? I think we're in a multi-party, we're in a multi-ethnic, multicultural society with a lot of diversity and a diversity of interest, ethnicities and other things. If we really want a body that represents the country, we should use the Council of State as that kind of body to do that. Have 10 chiefs from each of the regions chosen by the National House of Chiefs sitting there, have a certain quota for women, for farmers, for labor groups, for business interests, those interests that are not easily represented in our politics. That's what we should use the Council of State for, so that we bring all of these diverse opinions to bear, and also so that they have enough legitimacy culturally. In many of the proposals that we had in the 69 Constitution, as well as even in this one that we currently have, the SKB Asante recommended that we should have the leader of the opposition there as part of the Council of State. Why not? In fact, they said we should have the leaders of all the political parties. It would have been good. Then immediately we see it as a multi-party body, as culturally representative, ethnically representative, regionally representative. Then when they speak, they have some legitimacy and some authority. You don't go and pick, most of us don't even know the people who sit on the Council of State, do you? Because we really don't care. They don't care very much. If it's going to be the way it is, we should scrap it, because it has no value. It's not value for money at all. If you look at every year's budget and say, okay, in the last 20-some years, how much money have we spent on the Council of State? And if we want to ask the next question, what value have we gotten from it? I don't think we've gotten much. Parliament has not been good, so we shouldn't give it anything important to do. Part of the reason why Parliament has not been effective is that it hasn't been given anything to do. You know, and because of that, MPs are comfortable. If you are not given anything to do at work, but you are paid, will you object to it? Most of us will still show up at work. People show up at work every day who do very little, but they show up because they get paid, you know, they get rewarded for it. So the way to challenge Parliament is not to say that, oh, because you don't do anything, you are not effective, we won't give you anything important to do. We should give them more important things to do and challenge them to do it. And we should more, I think it also means that even in changing the Constitution, we should think about, for example, is it okay to let foreign loan proposal be approved by a simple majority? Maybe not. Maybe we need a super majority, so that when we are borrowing, we will think about it. Because if you know that the Parliament, you require 75%, including the opposition, to approve of every borrowing you do, you borrow wisely, you defend it properly before Parliament, and the other party knows that if they use that minority recklessly to veto everything that you say, when they come to power, you will also use it. So they will be also more cautious of how they use their vote, not just vote against something because you are in opposition. Because when the tide changes and the table turns, then you too could be on the other side. So it's important that I think we give Parliament more important things to do, and also begin to think about the rules for approving many of these important things. Maybe we should move more and more closer to supermajority in some cases. So I don't think we should worry that, you know, because they are divided. There are a lot of things on which MPs are not divided, but we don't see it. Okay, when this is a big national project, when we're doing a constitution, you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about, okay, even if I were to live in opposition, under what country would I want to be governed? Under what constitution would I want to be governed? You should also think of yourself as losing power. You see, I think if our politicians always think of themselves as, oh, we are going to win power, that is when they may not want to change certain things about the way the country is governed. But if they also think sometimes about losing power, then they would want, so if I were to lose power, would it be better if I could go and contest as a mayor in my district or not? Yeah. If I lost power in Accra and I was a mayor, could I at least build some experience as an executive, chief executive? Those things are important for us to think about to diffuse this partisanship. You see, so some of these things are also important to diffuse exactly the partisanship we are talking about. Things like electing mayors of municipalities and metropolitan areas. These are all some of the things we should think about. We are a two-party country. We are roughly divided between two main rival parties, and they are going to alternate in power for the foreseeable future. So I think what a wise politician should do with that kind of political environment is not to always make provisions in the Constitution that will benefit you only when you are in power, but also when you are in opposition. If you were to lose power, do you think it's a good idea that every CEO of every state organization is dismissed? Do you want that? People's livelihoods are affected each time there's a change of government. Thousands of people lose their jobs. Is that a way to run a country? So I think we need to understand that, politicians they are rational people. They calculate things rationally when they are doing it. So as we are thinking about amendments, we have to think about what kinds of rules should we introduce so that their self-interest will be in line with what we are doing. So which is why I like the supermajority rule. Supermajority means not a simple majority. You need 75% or 65% or something more than 51% or 50 plus 1. If we just do every business in Ghana by 50 plus 1, that's why we are in this situation, because all you need is only your MPs. So in effect,